Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, the title of this video, we are going to be talking about Halloween, the 1978 horror classic Halloween. Alright, so I just want to touch on a few things in this movie that don't make sense. And I've been wanting to do a movie on Halloween for a while now. You know, it's not my favorite. It's not the worst movie, of course, but it's not my favorite. You know, Michael Myers is not my favorite villain. So I just looked up a few things and I wanted to talk about them and, you know, see what everybody thought. So let's get into this video. Alright, so first I'm going to read some stuff I found off Google, and then I'm going to go to a website called Comic Book Resources and read what they say about it. Alright, so it says the original Halloween 1978 has several notable flaws, including plot holes, continuity errors, and some inconsistencies in the character's behavior. Additionally, some of the horror elements and kills can be perceived as predictable or lacking in impact. It says here's a more detailed breakdown. All right, so plot holes and continuity errors: inconsistent deaths. In one scene, Annie's neck is slashed, but there's no blood. Similarly, Laurie breaks a glass pane to escape, but the broken shards disappear in subsequent shots. There's age consistencies in Michael's age throughout the film and the credits. I'll get to that soon. Logistical issues: there are some issues with the timing of events, such as Laurie slamming the phone down and it ringing again in seconds. Environmental inconsistencies: the ground changes from dry to wet quickly. I saw that also on something else. It says background details: visible crew members in phone booths and shadows, as well as a fan used to simulate wind, disrupt the illusion of realism. It says character behavior: Michael's motivation. Some viewers find it difficult to understand his actions and lack of remorse. I'm one of them. Other character behaviors: the behavior of some characters, like Tommy's nonchalance or Dr. Loomis's interactions, can seem inconsistent with the situation. Horror and narrative elements: predictable horror. Some find the horror elements, such as the kills and chases, to be predictable and not particularly impactful. It says the music and pace: constant repetition of the film score can be jarring, and some scenes feel unnecessarily drawn out. Some critics argue that the film is somewhat overrated and not as groundbreaking as some claim. That's interesting. Alright, so let's jump into things in Halloween that don't make sense. Like I said, I'm on a website, so I'm just going to go by, you know, some of the things that they listed. These are not my things, so I'm just reading. So don't come at me if you know. Alright, so number 10 says the sheriff did not take the threat seriously. At the beginning of Halloween, Dr. Loomis, Michael Myers' psychologist, witnesses Michael's escape and can do nothing as Myers drives the car away. Dr. Loomis is very fearful of what Michael will do with his newfound freedom, yet when he tries to explain his worries, the sheriff repeatedly waves him off. Despite the notoriety that Myers has in Haddonfield for his murderous tendencies, the sheriff brushes off the threat of a loose murder way too quickly. It says the lack of, the sheriff's attitude leads to Michael killing 3 people, and the sheriff had no real reason for being so, nonchalant about, Michael Myers and the whole thing. Number 9 says the gravity-defying knife. And I'm not going to read off every single thing. I'm just going to touch some of the stuff that I want to read, that I thought was interesting to mention. Okay, here's one. It says, how does Michael Myers know how to drive? That's something that me and my friend discussed recently, when we talk about Halloween. It's like, how did he know how to drive? The movie leads viewers to believe that Michael Myers was institutionalized at the age of 6 after murdering his older sister, but when Michael escapes, he drives off in Marion's car without a hitch. In fact, Michael drives the 80 miles back to his hometown without crashing, despite his lack of experience in driving. How did he know where to go? How did he read a map? Michael even follows Laurie and Annie around town in a stolen car. When would Michael have ever perfected his driving technique if he had been in the hospital for 15 years? Pondering these questions takes the fright out of the film, but it is hard to avoid thinking about when Michael's ability to drive is central to the plot. Yeah, I thought about that in not only this movie, but you know, the other movie when she had the son that doesn't exist, and she was a teacher, I think, or whatever, and she had changed her name, and he was driving in that movie, and I was thinking, how does he know how to drive? Like, where did he learn to drive? All right, so they're talking about his mask. It says Michael Myers, his mask is quite iconic. Of course, you know, but it says, however, first seeing the mask can be confusing. Strangely, Michael Myers has a mask with a human face when most other horror villains wear scarier masks like Scream's ghost face or Jason's hockey mask in Friday the 13th. Michael's mask is actually a William Shatner mask, spray painted white. The resulting look is indeed creepy, but it's somewhat less frightening when considering that one of the most famous horror villains is just cosplaying as Captain Kirk. Alright, so this is something I never really thought about. It says the lack of trick-or-treaters. Though Halloween is a horror movie with less emphasis on family-friendly aspects of Halloween, there are surprisingly few mentions of trick-or-treating, which is perhaps the most important aspect of the holiday. Especially in a film literally called Halloween, there is a suspicious lack of costumed kids wandering around. The movie shows only a couple of quick shots of trick-or-treaters, but none knock on either Laurie's or Annie's door the entire time they are babysitting. The two kids featured in the movie, Tommy, that's Tommy Doyle, and Lindsay, spent all night indoors watching TV and do not even mention trick-or-treating, which usually is a child's favorite part of the holiday. It seems as though there could have been at least one scene of Michael scaring some random children. Yeah, I never thought about that. Again, to some people, these things may not seem like a big deal. You know, every movie has mistakes and plot holes. You know, I'm just talking about this movie in particular. So, alright, so another one that's really interesting says, Michael's disputed age. The very first scene of Halloween shows a young Michael Myers murdering his older sister with a kitchen knife. Later, viewers hear from Dr. Loomis that Michael was 6 years old at the time of the murder, which was set on Halloween night in 1963. If Michael was 6 in 1963, he would be 21 at the time of the events in Halloween in 1978. However, the credits list Michael as 23, leaving viewers questioning his actual age during the movie. Little continuity errors like Michael's age pop up throughout the franchise, but the mistakes certainly started with the first Halloween in 1978. Something else that was stated, that they said they do not have palm trees in Haddonfield, Illinois, and that's, you know, that's a made up place that they were at in the Halloween movie, and they said they also don't have mountains in Illinois. And something else I wanted to mention, someone on Reddit has said 1 second is daylight, then it's completely dark, 1 second is sunny out, and the next street, sidewalks, and driveways are soaked wet with rain. Michael moves like a cat at the beginning of the movie when he jumps on the car, but the whole rest of the movie he seems to move at a snail's pace or hardly move at all. They said they love the late 70s vibe of the movie, but these are things we talk about every time we watch it. Like, these are not, you know, big things to make you not want to watch the movie. Like I said, every movie has plot holes. Every movie has things, you know, that you may look at and be like, hey, this doesn't make sense. So it's not to really bash it, just things that I saw and wanted to discuss. Yeah, so those are mainly the ones that I wanted to mention. Just small things like that. I actually want to do another video, you know, about Michael Myers and the whole franchise and how it doesn't make any sense, but that's a whole nother thing that's going to take even longer to do. So I just want to talk about Michael Myers and Halloween by itself. I never talked about it by itself on the channel, so it's just a little video just to throw out there. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, and check me out in the next video. God bless.